discuss with the development of the face, nose and palate. So first of all I will explain this picture. In this picture you will see we have two bulging. The upper bulging, which is the developing brain, and the lower bulging, which is the developing pericardium. And between two bulges we have this area that is known as the stomatodium. And stomatodium is separated from the future mouth by the buccopharyngeal membrane. Now what will happen, this area, this stomatodium, give rise to the future mouth. Now here you can see from the developing brain, or we can see that it is a part of the forebrain of the developing nervous system. The mesoderm of this developing brain proliferates, and when it proliferates, it goes downward and shows the downward projection that overlaps the upper part of the stomatodium. See, this is the mesoderm of the developing brain. It proliferates the cell of this mesoderm. This is a mesoderm. So cells of this mesoderm proliferates and moves downward and covers and overhangs the stomatodium. This downward projection is known as the frontonasal process. So this mesodermal proliferated cells which runs downward in front of the stomatodium, it is known as the frontonasal process. Meanwhile, as we know, the frontonasal process is developing from the mesodermal cells of the developing brain. Meanwhile, the stomatodium is surrounded on each side by the first pharyngeal arch, that is the mandibular arch. Okay, so upper part we have the frontonasal process, and in the lower part we have the pericardium, and each side of the stomatodium we have the mandibular arch, that is the first pharyngeal arch. Now we will see how the face will be developed, from which structures the face will be developed. The first of all we will see we have the unpaired structure, that is the frontonasal process. So this is the unpaired structure, that is the frontonasal process. This structure also gives rise to the face, and we have the paired structure that is known as the mandibular arch, and that is the paired one, or first pharyngeal arch. It also gives rise to the face. Now we will see the first of all the mandibular arch. What will happen to the mandibular arch? The mandibular arch lies on the lateral wall of the stomatodium. The stomatodium forms the future mouth. So this mandibular arch gives rise to the bud. It gives rise to on the dorsal, and it gives rise to the bud. This bud is known as the maxillary process. Okay, and it grows ventromedially to the main part of the arch, which is this part is now known as the mandibular process. So we can say the mandibular arch, the first pharyngeal arch, is divided into the two parts. The one part, the bud arises from this arch, and it is known as the maxillary process. It grows ventromedially, and the remaining part, it is now known as the mandibular process. Okay, the 5 primordia for face development are unpaired frontonasal process, and paired maxillary process, and paired mandibular process. The face develops from the 5 structures. The one is unpaired, that is the frontonasal process, and it develops from the mesodermal cells from the developing brain and moves downward. And the mandibular arch divides into the 2 parts, the maxillary process on each side, that is the paired, and the mandibular process on each side. So face develops from the 5 structures, that is frontonasal process, maxillary process, and mandibular process. Okay. Now we will see what will happen to this frontonasal process. Now soon on the ectoderm lining of this frontonasal process shows that on bilateral side thickening. This thickening is situated just above the stomatodium. This thickening is called the nasal plaque cords. The formation of these nasal plaque cords is induced by the underlying forebrain. These plaque cords soon sinks below the surface to form the nasal pits. Here you can say these nasal plaque. What is nasal plaque cord? These are the thickening, ectodermal thickening on the frontonasal process on each side. So the thickening later on pits downward. It goes under the surface and forms the pit. Now this is known as the nasal pit on each side. So these pits are continuous with the stomatodium below. So it is continuous with the stomatodium below. The edges of these 2 pits. So this is the nasal pit. Its edge raises up. So we have the lateral nasal process and the medial nasal process. So the edges of these nasal pit raises, and it is known as lateral. It is known as lateral nasal process, and medially it is known as the medial nasal process. Lateral and cranial to this nasal placard, we have another thickening that is known as the lens placard. This lens placard later on forms the eye. So we can roughly we can say the development of face. We can say this maxillary process which forms the upper jaw and the cheeks, the mandibular process it forms the lower jaw and lower lip. This is the nasal pit, it forms the nasal cavity, and this lens placard it forms the eyes. Separately see how each part of the face is developing. First of all, we see how the lower lip is developed. The mandibular process on each side of the stomatodeum grows towards each other and join in the midline. Okay. Now we can see from this mandibular process on each side when they grow towards each other and they join to form the lower lip and the lower jaw. So mandibular process gives rise to the lower lip and the lower jaw. Now we will see the development of the upper lip. Now we see the lower lip give rise to lower lip and lower jaw arises from the mandibular process. Now we have the maxillary process. The maxillary process also grows medially below the developing eye. Okay, they grow medially towards each other and join. First, they join with the lateral nasal process, that is the thickening of the nasal pit, and later on it joins with the medial nasal process. And they fuse towards each other, and this part form the upper lip, upper jaw, upper lip, and the cheeks, part of the cheeks. Now when we see this maxillary process grows towards each other, and first it joins with the lateral nasal process and again then the medial nasal process. Then we can see this lateral nasal process and medial nasal process, they also join to each other. And now we can see the nasal external nares, that is the nostrils, gets cut off from the stomatodeum. The maxillary process undergo considerable growth, and at the same time the frontonasal process, become much narrower from side to side. Now this frontonasal process, because of the narrowing of the frontonasal process, the nasal pits grow closer to each other. Now the stomatodeum is now bordered above by the upper lip, that is from the maxillary process, and the lower lip, that is derived from the mandibular process. And due to the narrowing of the frontonasal process, the nasal pits come close to each other. But here we have to note one thing. This is the part, this green part is the part of the upper lip. This part is derived from the frontonasal process. This we know that frontonasal process is mesodermal in origin, and the maxillary process on each side, which is itself an ectoderm. But what happened to this? The ectoderm that arises from the maxillary process overgrows to this mesoderm, that is the frontonasal process. Why this happened? This overgrowing will explain us that the upper lip is the nervous supply, the sensory nerve supply of the upper limb is from the maxillary nerve. That is why whole of the frontonasal process later on give rise to the philtrum of the upper lip. The philtrum, that is the philtrum along with all the upper lip is sensory, the sensory nerve supply of the upper lip is from the maxillary nerve. So we can say because of this overgrowing of the maxillary process over the mesoderm of, that is the frontonasal process, that is because we have all the upper lip is derived, the nervous supply of all the upper lip is derived from the maxillary process. Now the muscles of the face, including those of the lips, are derived from the mesoderm of the second brachial arch. Therefore, they are supplied by the facial nerve. Here also, in this picture, you can also see from the frontonasal process, which narrows down, it forms the philtrum of the mouth. That is, it is the mesodermal in origin. But the overlying skin is ectodermal in origin. That is why they are supplied by the maxillary nerve. So all the muscles is derived from the second brachial arch. So they are supplied by the facial nerve. Now we will see the development of the cheeks. Now this picture will explain us after the formation of the upper lip and the lower lip, the stomatodeum, which is now called as the future mouth, is very broad. So they are broad. When the maxillary process and mandibular process join each other in the midline, the mouth is broad. Now we have cheeks is not developed yet. In its later part, it is bounded above by the maxillary process and below by the mandibular process. these processes undergo progressive fusion with each other. So the mandibular process below and maxillary process above join to each other and form the cheeks. The maxillary process fuses with the lateral nasal process. This fusion not only occurs in the region of lip, but also it extends from the stematodeum at the medial angle of the eye. So the furrow that is between the medial angle of the eye up to the lip is also formed by the fusion of the maxillary process. So this furrow is known as the naso-optic furrow or nasolacrimal sulcus. Frontonasal process and this is a mandibular process. When they join to each other and they form the cheeks. But the maxillary process and mandibular process also joins with the lateral nasal process, and this is known as that the furrow, the forms the present on our face is known as the nasolacrimal duct, which is later on seen in the development of the eye. Now we will see the development of the eye. The development of eye we will see in the later, it is a separate chapter, but here we can see just because of the little bit knowledge we can get here is that the region of the eye is first seen as the ectodermal thickening that I told you. So this is the lens placard. This was the nasal placard, that is the ectodermal thickening. So another ectodermal thickening occurs just above and behind the nasal placard, that is known as the lens placard. This lens placard give rise to this also sinks just like the nasal placard. This lens placard also sinks and forms the pit that later on form the eye. So while narrowing of the frontonasal process, they come close to each other. Like the nasal cavity, they come close to each other by the narrowing of the frontonasal process. The eyes of the two sides also come close to each other. Now we will see how the nose is developed. The nose receives a contribution from the frontonasal process and from the medial and lateral nasal process, right and left side. So this is the frontonasal nose is formed from the frontonasal process and from the lateral and medial nasal processes on each side. External nares are formed when the nasal pits are cut off from the stomatodeum by the fusion of maxillary process with the medial nasal process. When the maxillary process joined with the first lateral process, then with the medial process. So the nares gets cut off from the stomatodeum. Each nares gradually approach each other. So they approach towards each other. This is the result of the fact that the frontonasal process become progressively narrower and narrower. So here you can see the frontonasal process become narrower and narrower. Because of this narrower of the frontonasal process, the nasal cavities came close to each other, and later on this frontonasal process formed the septum of the nasal septum. The mesoderm becoming heaped up, and the remaining mesoderm which surrounds this frontonasal process, they become heaped up and from the prominence of the nose. Simultaneously, a groove appears between the region of the nose and the bulging of forebrain, which is now called as the forehead. As the nose becomes prominent due to the heaping of the mesoderm, the external nares come to open downward instead of the forward. Okay. So this, the establishment of the fusion of 5 process, that is the frontonasal process, forms the bridge of the nose. The frontonasal forms from the bridge of the nose. The fused medial nasal process from the dorsum and the tip of the nose. So medial process from the tip and the dorsum of the nose, and the lateral nasal process from the ala of the nose. Okay. The development of the nasal cavity is, so we can see the nose is formed by the frontonasal process from the nasal septa, medial nasal process from the dorsum and the tip, and the lateral forms from the ala of the nose. Okay. When we are discussing the development of face, we will see how the air is formed. As we know, the external air is formed from the dorsal part of the first ectodermal cleft. A series of mesodermal thickening, that is known as the hillocks, okay, appears on the mandibular and the hyoid arch where they adjoining this cleft. We know the first ectodermal cleft, the dorsal part of this cleft forms the series of hillocks. The pinna is formed by the fusion of these thickening. Okay. Later on we see it is pushed back due to the formation of the lower lip, that is from the mandibular process. The developing ear goes upwards and backwards. In case there is a disease known as the if there is a failure of the mandibular process to join to each other, then the ear of the developing ear remains downwards. That is known as the first arch syndrome or mandibulofacial dystosis. Now we will see how the nasal cavity is formed. We know how the nose is formed. The external nose, that is the external feature of the nose, is from the frontonasal process, medial nasal process and the lateral nasal process. Now the cavity is formed by the extension of the nasal pit. So we see these pits are first in open communication with the stomatodeum. The frontal process is between the nasal pits. Soon the medial and lateral process fuses and form partition between the two pits. So these pits are separated by the frontonasal process. These nasal pits deepens to form the nasal sacs, which expands both dorsally, caudally. The dorsal part of the sac is first separated from the stomatodeum by a thin membrane, that is known as the bucconasal membrane. But soon it breaks down and the nasal cavity opens into the posterior part of the mouth, that is known as the posterior nasal aperture, and anteriorly, due to the heaping of the mesoderm, it opens downward and it is known as now the nasal external nares, okay, or anterior nares. The two nasal sacs are first widely separated from one another by the frontonasal process. When we see the frontonasal process narrows, they come close to each other like this. So here we can see the different anomalies of the face. As we have seen that there are the various parts that involves in the fusion of there are various components which join together to form the face. So if God forbid one of the fusion does not occur, there occurs various anomalies. The first anomaly is the hair lip. What happens into the hair lip? The upper lip of the hair lip normally has a cleft. Hence the term hair lip. It is present in the hair. So normally this cleft is present in the hair. That is why they are known as the hair lip. Normally in humans it is not present. So if it is present, it is divided first into the unilateral. Okay, so this is the unilateral A. Unilateral, you can see here the cleft. It occurs due to the non-fusion of the maxillary process towards each other. Okay, if the cleft is present in the upper lip, it has various degrees. So it is the little bit. Here you can say the more degree. Here it even extends up to the nasal cavity. So this is the different degrees of the upper lip cleft. Why it happens? Due to the non-fusion of the maxillary process towards each other. It may be unilateral. Here you can say it is unilateral. It can be bilateral. Okay. So it may extend. It may be only up to the lip. It may go towards the upper lip. Even it goes towards the nasal cavity. It also not only upper lip, the lower lip can also be. We can also see the cleft in the lower lip. Now lower lip, why happens to lower lip? Due to the non-fusion of the mandibulary process. Now if non-fusion of the maxillary process occur with the lateral nasal process, it gives rise to the angle. It gives rise another anomaly, that is known as the oblique facial cleft. Why it happens? Because of the non-fusion of the maxillary process with the lateral and medial nasal process. This is known as the oblique facial cleft. It runs from the angle of the eye to the mouth. The nasolacrimal duct is not formed in this case. So if another anomaly is if inadequate fusion of the mandibular and maxillary process occur towards each other, it gives rise to the wide mouth. That is known as the macrostomia. Macro matlab big. So if the another anomaly is if too much fusion occurs, so it gives rise to the small mouth. It is known as the microstomia. The nose may be bifid. It may be associated with the median cleft lip, but these occur due to the bifurcation of the frontonasal process. That is known as the proboscis. What is proboscis? It is rarely seen. It is the cylindrical projection. If the nose normally does not develop, we can see a projection, that is the frontonasal process in the forehead. This is known as the proboscis, and there is a single median eye in this case. the fusion of the eyes occur, that is known as the cyclopes. Now if we see if the first arch may remain underdeveloped or both sides remain underdeveloped, what happened to this? This is known as the mandibulofacial dystosis or Treacher-Collins syndrome or first arch syndrome. It is an autosomal dominant disease. What happened in this? The first arch remains underdeveloped or it does not develop. So if first arch, we see from the first arch the maxillary process develops, the mandibular process develops, external ear develops. So all of the face we can see the anomaly of the face. We can see the eyes may be widely separated from each other, that is known as the hypertelorism. Now why it happens? Because the frontonasal process, widening of the eyes, that is known as the hypertelorism. We can see that the mandible may be small or it may be underdeveloped, that is known as aganathia. So there may be various anomalies regarding to the face.